And lastly, 13. This is going to be one of the part twos on our exam on Thursday. I mean, the diagram might not look exactly like this, but it's going to be the same type of deal. What you need to know going into this problem is the geometric relationships, their names when you have parallel lines. Because I know you might be saying, well, who cares if I can identify corresponding and alternate interior and alternate exterior and so on. It will matter later on in the year. You're going to be asked to write proofs, and if you lack that language, you can't write the proof. You lack that access point. So this is why I need to make sure that you have that language down, so when we get to the proofs, you can leverage that language and show them what you know instead of getting caught up in this. So let's just go through these angles B and C, and we'll just talk about what they are. So angle B and angle C. Those angles are formed by intersecting lines. And they're kind of opposite each other. These are vertical angles. And they're not exclusive to parallel lines. They're just angles formed by intersecting lines. That's an important one to know. And if you really are curious, vertical angles are congruent. So, A and D are vertical angles, and they'll be congruent. F and G. The same with E and H. Those would be all the pairs of vertical angles. Next, C and F. C and F. And here I notice they're interior. They're inside of my parallel lines. And they're on different sides of that transversal. Angle C is on the left, and angle F is on the right. They're on what we call alternate sides. So when we put that together, they're both alternate and interior. That's why we call angle C and F alternate interior angles. And the trick to seeing alternate interior angles is you look for that Z, whether it be this backward Z like that, or like a normal Z, like this, where in the armpits you've got D and E. Those are the other alternate interior angles. You can kind of see those Z's there. But those would be alternate interior. Okay, D and F. D and F. There's a couple different names for this, but I'm going to go with the intuitive one. Once again, you can see that these angles are interior. They're inside those parallel lines. But now when we look at the transversal, they're both on the right side. They're both on what we call the same side. So if we put that together, you're going to get same side interior angles. Okay. Another name for them is just consecutive angles. Consecutive angles. Because it's like, oh, the very next angle is this one. And these angles are supplementary. All right. They sum to 180. Alternate interior, I know I didn't mention it. They'll always be congruent. So either one of these is acceptable. You say that on a region, they'll know what you're talking about. And the last pair that we're going to talk about today is H and D. H and D. These are corresponding angles because if I just pick it up, they match. They correspond. Another way to think about it is, this angle cluster and this angle cluster. D is the one that matches up with H. And here's why. Because if you look at that parallel line, D is on the bottom, right? It's beneath it. And then if you look at that transversal, it's to the right. So which angle down here sits on the bottom of that parallel line? Well, E doesn't and F doesn't, right? G does and H does. But which out of those two sit on the right? Well, G is on the left, so it's only H. And that's why they correspond, because they do the same thing. They're in the same relative positioning. And if you want to know all of the corresponding angles, we got D and H. We've got A and E. We've got B and F. And then we've got C and G. And corresponding angles are congruent. Well, thank you for practicing. And we got one more day of practice tomorrow, and then exam on Thursday. Look forward to see the hard work pay off.